Hello and welcome to Flat and Other Hot Potatoes, episode number 172. It's The Secret Show, and we are live and on the air, broadcasting from Houston, Texas, and Whidbey Islands, right outside of Seattle and Washington, and also coming to us from Leamington Spa in the UK. It's Mark Sargent and Nathan Oakley, and me, Patricia Steer. Hello, everyone. Woo, Mark, Nathan.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. Now, The Secret Show doesn't usually have anyone but Mark and I on, but as a pop-in guest, as a drop-in guest, we have Nathan here because Nathan has done something very interesting. Now, there's a thing called Vice Media. Now, I know Vice Magazine, but Vice Media in London contacted you. And, well, Nathan, you tell the story. This is pretty exciting stuff.
Well, I, like a lot of people, hadn't heard of it. So I went into the chat today, into various different chats, which have all got problems, it would seem. But that aside, and asked, have you heard of Vice Media? And most of the people in Flat Earth, at least, hadn't. And then later in the day, when I'd sort of given up on asking people if they'd heard of it, a few people I was just generally chatting to said that they had, i.e. Nick from Phuket Word. And I know that certainly yourself and Stephen Chess had heard about it or heard of them. But yeah, it was exciting because yesterday it was like a potato meeting. Had Mark, had Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, Stephen Chess, yourself, and it was a touching moment, a meeting of the elders, all giving me advice about what I could potentially say and how to tackle certain situations. I got a full-on pet talk. It was wonderful. So that was prepping me for going in, because you kind of don't know what you're going to be faced with when you go and meet somebody like this. You just don't know how they're going to approach you or what they're going to ask or what curveballs they'll throw you. And so I asked the king of the curveball, Mark, and Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, like, what should I do? How should I approach this? And how should I approach that? And it was really, really nice. It was heartwarming to have help from people like yourself, Patricia, and Stephen Chess and Mark and David to prepare me to go to London to see these people and talk about Flat Earth in a big way. So they do a series called 10 Things I Would Love to Ask, I think, or 10 Things I have Never Had the Chance to Ask, or something like that. I'll have to look at the exact title. But there's 10 questions that they have got people like gynecologists and drug dealers, and let's give it some more glamorous stuff than that, but tantric sex expert. The last
and flat earthers. I mean, that just fits right in, doesn't it?
That was it. 10 questions I could never ask or flat earther. Yep. So that's what it was. So they had a whole bunch of questions which they fired at me, and thanks to you guys, Mark and Dirth and yourself and Stephen, I was very well prepared, and I thought it went really well. They gave us the most amazing backdrop. If I may, can I actually share it? I brought up some pics. So
please do. For those who don't know, while you're getting ready to share, Vice Media LLC is a North American digital media and broadcasting company, and they originate from their Montreal-based Vice magazine, but they've got, obviously, in London, a really nice setup there. And they contacted you, Nathan, out of the blue and just said, hey, will you talk Flat Earth? I mean, how did they find you?
They just found me through Facebook. So they just dropped me a Facebook message. And as I say, I didn't know who they were, but just you can kind of tell by the level of professionalism when someone gets in touch with you, they seem a bit more serious. I'm not saying that people who've contacted me from other YouTube channels aren't serious, but ultimately speaking, there was something about them that made me think, yeah, I'd like to chat to these guys a bit further. And chat I did. And off the back of that, like I say, I went down to this, hopefully it's on screen now, which is Alexandra Palace in London. And it's a glorious location. I mean, it doesn't actually serve that many people, but it's got a television transmitter on the top, which is still broadcasting, not as much as it used to. But that wasn't the impressive bit. The impressive bit was the backdrop. So where they were filming me, I'll be standing pretty much in front of this view. So it's like the whole of London, like the entire London skyline. And when I walked up the hill to meet them, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, wow, who picked this location? It's absolutely amazing. It's like, I didn't I've never been to Alexandra Palace, so I've obviously never seen it before. But when you're there looking at sort of the London skyline in its entirety, it is pretty spectacular, And they're asking you flat Earth related questions, looking with that in the background. It was awesome. But that's kind of what it will look like with me sort of standing here-ish. But yeah, so that's Alexandra Palace and 10 things I didn't know I wanted to ask a flat earther.
Well, you were being very modest when you said that you kind of needed a little bit of help, I guess, from David Weiss and Stephen Chess, Mark Sargent, and others. You didn't at all. I just want to let you know. I mean, we were more than willing to be there as a sounding board, but you had it all under control. So don't give us the credit. So you went in and they filmed you and they asked you these questions. And did any of the questions surprise you, take you off guard? How do you feel you did and represented Flat Earth?
I think it went well. I mean, I'd have loved to have given more credit, because you say you can't give credit, but ultimately speaking, most of my rebuttals, if you will, have come from people like yourself, people like Jaron, even people like Eric DeBay. So, credit where credit's due. There was certain answers that I got lined up. For example, this is a Jaronism example, but in terms of how a pool table would be akin to Earth, and you've got the balls on top representing the celestial bodies, and just because the balls on top are spherical doesn't mean that the table underneath is a sphere. And you've got that little gem ready to say, and then reference the fact that you've got it from a big flat Earth YouTuber. But unfortunately, just in the way the conversation went, there wasn't any opportunities to plug anybody else. Not that I can remember anyway. It didn't go in the natural flow of the conversation. But say this, sorry. So where they were filming, it's completely private property. They picked the location and just kind of hope that they could do it on the roadside. But then let's go over there and try it over there. It might be a bit quieter, was what we ended up doing. And before long, I'd rattled my way through all of the questions that they'd asked me. And then there's a security guard standing on my left shoulder. So I'm like, well, I want to get through as much as I possibly can. So I got to the end of my question and they were kind of like, well, that's what we can do now. So we walked back down the hill and they held a handy cam and did the last of the interview sort of very rough and ready. So I don't know how it's going to look, but yeah, I mean, in terms of the backdrop, they just picked a really good spot, and the questions were kind of combative in a way. How would you find somebody ridiculing you, and how do you deal things like that? They were reasonably combative questions, but by the same token, you could tell that they'd looked into the subject enough to come up with some very good questions. Let's put it that way.
Well, do you feel that if any flat earther watches it, they'll say, way to go, Nathan? Or do you think you're going to have people saying, oh, he shouldn't have answered it that way? Or, oh, that's not what I would have said.
Well, this is kind of why I'm keen to come on, and I'm pleased that you've invited me on, because you just don't know. You kind of hope, this is Mark Sargent, that you don't say anything stupid. You don't want to represent badly. And like I say, I didn't know how big they were. And they said to me, have you seen the series? I was like, actually, I haven't. I have genuinely been really, really busy. But I got back and I was like, well, I should really have a look. And I looked them up, and on YouTube alone, they've got like 8 million subscribers. They've got a massive channel. They've got a massive website. Their Facebook presence is enormous. I was like, oh, wow. And then I looked through their videos and they're like super, super slick, like really high production values. I mean, don't get me wrong. As soon as they brought out their kit, I knew that they were going to be producing something good, and they were fussy. So I was like, okay, this is a bit more serious than I maybe have given it credit to on the way down there. You kind of have an image in your mind of another YouTube channel. You think, oh, they can't be that big. But, from, like I say, people explaining, oh, yes, I definitely know who Vice are. You go, oh, okay, so they're not small, and a well-known troll was telling me about the owner selling out for huge, huge sums of money. You go, okay, so it's not a small deal. So, yeah. Good news. Yeah. But I mean, hopefully, from edited well together, it should, to answer your question, hopefully represent Flat Earth well. I've tried to put across that, the Math Powerland bit, we can't get that point of view of Earth. Therefore, all of the propaganda we're presented by NASA is essentially based on faith. It's a belief. Again, without ruining their questions before they've even edited it together, they're kind of asking me about, am I religious, or is flat earth a religious belief? And I'm kind of saying, no, you are the ones with the belief, because beyond what you observe, what have you got? You've got stuff that you have to take it from the priests at NASA, and you take it on faith. So it is a belief system. So it's kind of not infuriating, but it's a bit frustrating when it's like, no, it's obviously and observably flat. That's the starting point. And beyond that, we just have to take the word of these priests. That's not me with the faith. That's you.
Did any of them that were there, any of the people who were helping out or interviewing you or using the camera, seem curious or surprised or interested, intrigued about what you were saying? Or were they kind of laughing on the inside and being professional on the outside?
Definitely intrigued. And you could tell just by their questions that they'd looked into it to a certain amount. You know, they weren't total noobs just asking noob questions, but they'd wormed in a few noob questions, I think, for their audience. In other words, they were very slick. They'd thought about it a lot, and you could tell that they were intrigued. That's why they'd approached me. And after the shoot had finished, although I was still mic'd up, and I was very conscious of that while they were asking a few questions, you could tell that they were interested, and they were asking me sincerely, do you believe in satellites? I'm like, well, no, because there's no evidence of them, and I can't go up and verify that they're there. And what we're left with is cartoons. And I'm not saying that to sort of condescend to them or patronize them. It's just that's kind of matter of fact as far as I'm concerned. But the fact that they were asking me these questions, they even had a work experience there helping them, and he was intrigued. He'd managed to one of the questions that was asked was his question, I found out afterwards. So in other words, they're all asking the questions. The cameraman's asking questions, the person interviews me asking questions. So it's like this crew is interested in flat earth, and that's why I'm there. And that did bring a smile to my face. So yeah,
real people out there in the real world are interested in flat earth. Only when we make videos and we see comments on videos from professional or non-professional trolls, or sadly enough, fellow flat earthers, that's where the cries of moron, idiot come from. But in the real world, generally speaking, people are all ears, and most people anyway. So that's good to know, really good to know. When will we be able to see it and or hear it, and where will it be so we can see it or hear it?
From what they've said, when they sold me the concept, they said about their most recent guy, the tantric sex guy, who has had 10 million views, and it's published initially, at least as far as I can tell, in Facebook format. So the 10 million views they got with the tantra guy is on Facebook. So that's where it will be published as far as I'm aware. And their series then gets, I think it's re-uploaded to the website under the 10 questions heading. So that would presumably come at a later date. But I think the big release is no tantra references. The big release is on Facebook, so that's where hopefully it'll be edited nicely, and hopefully I'm not going to let the side down because it's taken out of context. But I don't think so. I mean, they can only use what I've said, and as far as I'm concerned, I hope I've done a good job. I really hope so.
It's always been a worry of flat earthers that if we get into the mainstream, that they will take our words out of context, they will edit things, they'll make us look like idiots. But you're a person who's very well spoken and very measured in your delivery and very clear spoken, and I bet you did a great job. I'm really excited that you did it. And are you ever going to be able to get it from them and put it on your own channel?
Possibly not. I mean, I think with a big outlet like them, judging from what I've looked at today, they're going to be sort of set up like a lot of the other media streams. I think EMI is one that you occasionally see if you're uploading other people's music. It'll say, automatically they'll have a system in place to stop me from doing that. So it won't be just as simple as going and swiping it. I don't think. I think I'd end up with a copyright strike even with my own material. And I had to sign media releases, for them to have use of my likeness, in the same way that I had to do with you now. I've ticked a little box to join this hangout, and that essentially is like a waiver, and that's where I had to sign with them when I left. So the same thing will apply, because they'll take some of the material off my channel as well, and again I'll have to sign a media release for that. So probably not. I probably won't get to re-upload it onto my own channel. But on the other hand, I don't think I'll be as big a draw as the tantric sex guy, but if I got 1/10 of what he got, I'd be absolutely over the moon. Which still even less than that. If I got 1/20th, like 500,000 views is still, it seems astronomical to think of it in those terms. But you know, it potentially could have a few views. Who knows? I don't know.
And
It'll
like you
go.
said, you took from a lot of different content providers. You mentioned Jeranism, you mentioned Eric Dubay, you've mentioned others while we've been talking. So it's not like you're presenting one model, one point of view. You're kind of doing an overall flat Earth view. You know, you could do a video on your channel when it comes out to direct people to go to Facebook. I think that you should do that. That's a really good idea. On Facebook, is it called Vice Media or just Vice?
I think it's called Vice Media.
Okay. I'm going to go like that page. Well, maybe I won't, because probably they have some things I don't believe in on there, but I will go remind myself to keep that page in mind on Facebook. So anyway, wonderful. Thank you very much for coming and telling us the story. The place you went in London was beautiful. And I can't wait to see and hear you in mainstream media talking flat Earth. Way to go, Nathan. Thank you.
You want to get the title in just once correctly, because I've said it about 5 different ways, and it's 10 questions you always wanted to ask. So the actual title will be 10 questions you always wanted to ask a flat earther. So that'll be the actual title.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Talk to you later.
Bye for now.